Okay, in this session, we will introduce about the knowledge representation that is based on the logic reasoning, especially for the predicate logic. So the first one, that's thinking what is about the logic. For example, that we find have two examples. These two examples is two different kind of sentence. The first one is all men will die. And example 2 is all men will die. That's look the same. But when we have other sentence to describe this concept, the first one, example 1, is Socrates is a man, so Socrates will die. And the second example is Socrates will die, so Socrates is a name. So you can thinking what the difference between these two examples. For left side, all men will die. That is the truth. For based on this, we reasoning Socrates is a name, so Socrates will die. That means a man, Socrates is one element of the man, and in the set of the name will die, so Socrates will die. But the right sentence is Socrates will die. That means Socrates is in the set of the die. But from here, we bad reasoning that Socrates is a name, is a man. So if we use a figure to organize the different relationship, now we can find this one. The example 1, all men will die. Socrates is a man, so Socrates will die. Now we can find right side that the Socrates is inside of the man. So we can find Socrates inside of the man. So the man, Socrates is one element of the man. All the men will die, and man is a subset of the die. So Socrates is inside the subset. So we can find that Socrates will die. That's right. Another example that we can find that he said all men will die. Socrates will die, so Socrates is a man. But this logic, when we reference that is different, now we can find that first, that all men will die. That means man is a subset of the die. Socrates will die. So Socrates is belong to the subset of the die. But we cannot sure Socrates is inside the man. Maybe Socrates is an animal name. For example, a dog you name Socrates. But this dog is not a man. So from here we can find the second example, the logic has some problem. So when we reason in the logic, we need to be the element belong to based on this kind of the logic. So example 2, reasoning has problem. That is not a good logical reasoning. That when we remove the die, now we find man and chocolate may be a separate, not chocolate belong to the man. So when we do the logic thinking, logic reasoning, we need to know the logic must be validity. Validity, that means to be able to get the conclusion from the premise. Not all the premise can be empty set. Now we need to note. Note means that we to mark. Premise can be empty set. And the second is assume people is rational. Then if the argumentation is valid, in vez of the acceptance, it is impossible. That doesn't accept the conclusion. What the meaning of this? This means that we default people thinking is rational. Rational means that he have a logic reasoning ability, and reasoning is based on logic, and is useful and acceptable. So then, if the argumentation is valid, in case of the acceptance, so means that if we can prove that this finding is valid, that we can accept it. We can accept it means that it is impossible. That doesn't accept conclusion. So the meaning is the logic can be reasoning based on the proof of and people is rational. So sometimes we with people, especially that the husband with wife, that they have argumentation, but sometimes we say that one of side is not logical or is not acceptable for the rational. That means when we base on logic reasoning, it cannot make a correct conclusion. So sometimes people living with people and the life between couple may be not logical or not rational, maybe have more love inside. So under traditional logic has the two type. One type we said the proposition logic. Proposition logic means a sentence with true and false meaning. So proposition logic represents a judgment that we make when thinking, either negative or affirmative. Propagation can be represented by propagation symbol. So, for example, we find that the weather is good today. And then we have the conclusion is to travel. So I have a name is S2. That means you have a name. So this is the logic that to describe the proposition symbol. So proposition symbol can be reference simple logic, relationship, and reasoning. For example, we said if then condition. Let's give an example. We use symbol that the P implied to Q, or P implied to Q here. That means if the weather is good today, that is P. Go on a tour, that is Q. So at this time, if P weather is good today is hot, we can get the conclusion is Q, go to travel. So this is the proposition logic, proposition symbol. So they can represent simple logical representation and reasoning. But another different form is the predicate. Predicate means that the logic that may be based on many predicate names. So P is predicate name that used to describe the nature and state of individual or the relationship between individuals. So, and here we said P include many parameters. For example, S1, S2, and so on to Sn. That here S1 to Sn is an individual, indicating an independent storage something or an abstract concept. For example, here we say S is a student. That Sx, that means that S is the element of the subset student, because S is a element, is a student. S is the set of the student. Like we say, that is a beautiful car, and that is beautiful car. That means the car is one of element of the set car. And here PSY, that means S is Y's parents. So the predicate logic also can describe the relation between parameters. Because here, for example, S is Y's parents. That means S may be father or mother. Y is their children, may be a boy or a girl, or Mary or the John, and so on. So for the logic, usually we can do the reasoning is based on the predict logic. That for logical, we said have based on the order. We name first order predicate calculus or first-order logic. That means it is a system of mathematical logic that extending the proposition logic. Proposition logic means that the logic have the equivalently and sensational logic, and in turn extend by second-order logic. So the easy to understand is first-order logic that you can direct reasoning by this order of the predicate logic. But maybe you need to have a two-phase to reasoning the result that need a second-order logic. That the automatic sentence of the first-order predicate logic value have the form a predicate logic with one or more subject rather than being propositional letter as in the proposition logic. Next, the new ingredient of the first-order logic not found in propositional logic is the quantification. The quantification is where the why is any sentence. The new construction and read is from for all as phi, and for some as phi are introduced. So the quantification we can say that is special for the first order logic, but on the proposition logic, they are hard to reference this concept. So quantification has the meaning of, like we said, for all. For example, for all birds have a feather. That means that is a quantification. But this concept, we cannot use the proposition logic to represent it. But we can use first-order logic to represent it. For convenience in explaining our intention, we write phi as phi quote S, and that phi quote A represents the result of replacing all free occurrence of S in phi S with A. That means because S is a variable, A is a constant. So phi S, that means this S variable can be replaced with the A. Then the meaning that phi A is 2 for any value of A, and means that there is an A such that phi A is 2. So means the meaning is phi S is 2. Then we can, by prediction, that phi A is 2 is true. The value of variables are taken from an understood universe of discourse. A refinement of first-order logic allows variables range over different sorts of objects. what is the second order logic? And second order logic means that you cannot reasoning on the one phase. You need to be reasoning after second phase, and cannot by one reasoning to understand the result. Maybe need to reorder, re-indicated, reiteration to other form to reasoning. So we can have a second order logic. We also can have a third order logic, fourth order logic. Sometimes we said that can be have a high order logic. For example, that equality can be defined in second order logic by quantification over predicate is not permitted in first order logic. So that means that the equality can be defined on second order, but in first order we cannot define it. So define but in fact the most popular use is the first order logic, that a predicate calculates in consists of formulation rule that, for example, is recursive definition for forming well-formed formulas. That transformation rule from inference rule for deriving theories. So predicate logic also have a possible countable infinite set of the Axiom or Axiom schema. In logic and mathematics, second order logic is an extension first order logic, which itself is an intention of propagation logic also. So second order logic is in turn extended by high order and type theory. First order logic use only variables that range over individuals, that elements of the domain of discourse. And then we introduce the idea, just concept of second order. Second order logic has this variable as well as additional variable that range over a set of individuals. For example, the second order sentence say that for every set P of individual and every individual S, either S is P or it is not. This is the principle of bivariance. Second order logic also include variable quantify over function, and other variables are as expanded in the section of sentence below. So both first order and second order logic use the idea of the domain distorted discourse, often also called simplified domain or universe. The domain is a set of the individual elements which can be quantified over. So compare with other logic, high-order logic allow quantification over more general things such as the relation between relations. That institution first-order logic use the institutionalistic rather than class propositional calculus. For example, we use not why need not to be equivalent to why. Not means reverse. So that is in fact that became the phi directory. So the logic to describe that is a most popular form, we said the syllogism. Syllogism, that means the oldest, and it is the oldest and one of the simple type of the formal logic. So a discussion team for logic program and expert system is automatic reasoning system. So that in AI, that we said for the syllogism, that is premise, all men are mental. Socrates is a man, so Socrates is mental. So this is like a beginning of the video that we introduce about the logic reasoning. So propositional logic, a simple logic for manipulating property. And the first order logic is the first order to predict, or we can to predicate the logic. So sometimes if the sentence of the logic is fuzzy, we said also have a fuzzy reasoning, fuzzy logic. Okay, let's look the first order predicate logic. For the propositional logic is a subset of the predicate logic. So the basic of the logic programming language. For example, that for like Prolog, that is a logic language. That additional that have a variable. And the first order logic also have the universal quantifier. Universal quantifier that we have said previously, that is the why s. But in the predict logic, we use the term like this. This term meaning that for all. Now, for example, we use the term for all as like here. that S is a triangle, then imply S is a paragram. So for any triangle, that apply is paragram. And another term for the first order logic under reasoning is the existent quantifier that we use the symbol like this. That means existed. Existed is different with the universal. Universal is for all. Existed means that have something that has. So these two terms of the quantifier is very important in the predicate logic. These two terms also make a different level between the property logic to the predicate logic. Predicate logic include the property logic. So we look some sentence that use the universe quantify. For example, have a sentence say, everyone has a name. That we can use the logic that the M S means that S is a person. And we have NS, that means S has a name. So this sentence we can transfer from the everyone imply name. So means everyone is the universal. So for any S, S is the person that imply that S has a name. So this is the transform from the sentence that to the universal quantifier. Another logic is existent quantifier. Is existent quantifier, that means, for example, have a sentence. There are integers that are not even. That means that some integer is not even. So from here we can find that GS means S is an integer. Then ES means S is an even number. That means existed as GS that imply not ES, because the GS means G is integer, S is integer. So that means existed some integer that is not even. Not even maybe also we can convert to odd, because integer, as we know, that even and odd. So limitation of the predicate logic. The following sentence that cannot be expressed in predicate logic like this. Most of the class receive AS. To implement the most, a logic must provide some predicate for counting. So at this time, we need to have a fuzzy logic because this is not universal, but they just a probability because they use the linguistic term of the fuzzy linguistic term. So this kind of the logic is hard to reference with the predicate logic. So we can find that predicate logic also have some limit for their reasoning. Here we give the standard logic symbol. Now this symbol means that imply thing. And if we say that A implies B, that their corresponding logic is not A or B. This term is very important in the predicate logic because we know that predicate logic we usually not reasoning from the A to B, like if then. So this kind of the logic imply to the logic reasoning that we need to transfer the implied thing to not A or B, that based on the A imply B. So here, this symbol is not, and this is or impression, and this is and impression. Now for proposition logic, a sentence whose truth value can be determined that as the proposition logic. For example, it is raining. This kind of logic, we can use the propositional logic to reference it. It is raining. That means the weather, and we said that have a parameter inside the weather, and we can use the compound sentence that on the proposition logic that use and or not imply equivalent. So for example, if it is raining, then carry an umbrella. Now we can apply this sentence that to weather. For example, whether we use F is universal, and we said that is raining, weather is raining, then we can imply to carry umbrella. That this is a proposition language, but this proposition language logic, when we reasoning, because we use the imply operation, we need to transfer it. Now from, for example, that is not A. Now we said not F quote R or B and then or C U. So this is the from sentence to predicate, and then we transfer after the logical operation. So a compound sentence that is always true, that we say that is like this, P or not P. This means if P is true or P is not true, that means this is a cause. This cause usually will be true because the P condition just only 0 or 1, but not P condition. Not P condition is different with the P. If P is 0, not P is 1. If P is 1, not P is 0. Not P is 0. So at this condition, we opt the OR operation between this. Now we usually get the 1. 1 is true. So this compound statement is true. But if we inverse that this compound sentence to become the AND operation, now from here we can use the reduce. We can reduce this, and then we find that if the compound statement is an AND operation, because here is an AND. So here is an AND. An AND operation only P is 1 and not P is 1 can have an output. So at this condition, we can find that the output usually will be output is 0. That means always false or always false. So from this, that we can find this condition. So the continuous statement neither tautologic or constraining. That, for example, and so on, P. So the logic for knowledge representation that he has some benefit. That logic is an easy formula syntax. Logic have a strict theory. Logic have completed rule of inference. And logic have a proof, can be proved and flexible. And with the modularity means the logic is very clear, like a module that can be formed a set of the input and output. You input some parameter, then they will reason in some output. So that is modularity. But logic knowledge, hard to demo knowledge with processing and control. Because if the logic, like a rule, that with many steps to reasoning, so that sometimes it's how to processing and controlling. So we renew that the stand logic symbol we said existed and for all. So now we look some sentence. So the proposition logic we say that it is raining, that we can use the constants. The input is raining. It is sunny, we can have a constant sunny. It is windy, we can have a constant windy. So usually the upcase is to reference the constant. Now have a sentence, if it is raining, then it is not sunny. So we can reasoning that raining imply not sunny. Another simple fact in logic. For example, previously we say Socrates is a name. Socrates is a man that can be referenced. One form is Socrates, man. But this is not flexible because that his name has been the constants of this variable, this value of logic value. And other reference is man quote Socrates. This is a better reference method because you can apply different name on the inside a quote to reference different meaning. So Plato is a man. Here has a missing word is a man. Now we said Plato man or man Plato, like above thinking. So you can think how you can write this sentence in the simple fact or the propagation logic. All men are mental. You can thinking. Okay, let's look a famous example of the Axiom convert to the cos form. The Axioms converted to a okay, the Axiom convert to cos form. That means this is a famous example that because many textbooks give this example. Now here we can find in the logical set that have some sentence. One sentence is the P, and one sentence is the P and the Q imply not P or not Q or R, and S means that SVT imply Q. That is means that not S or Q, not T or Q, and a set is T. T imply means that T is T. So here we can find that he wants us to prove not R is legal in this data set. If it is legal, that means if in the data set have a R inside, then after the reasoning, because the logic data set is logical, so after if it can accept not R, that means in the data set will be have a constant is R, because not R and R can merge together and between the empty. So if became the empty, that means R not R will not inside the data set, but not R, his inverse is inside the data set. So let's look an example from here how they do the reasoning. First, we want to reasoning is not R. And not R is here. We imply and we find a sentence with R. Why we select this one? And this one is come from which cause? That is come from here. Oh, come from here. No. That from here we can find that he have a sentence like this. So like this, not R with R will be merged together and become empty. So the set living is this one. And this one in the data set we search. On the data set have P. Oh, so the right side is after transform in the data set. Oh, after transform in the data set. So we have a P, so P can delete. And the remainder is not Q. Not Q on the cost set. We can find, use the Q operation, Q operation. And then we can, with this one, to merge. And after that, we get the not T. Not T in the data set have a T. So not T can be merged with T. So the logic reasoning became empty. So became empty, the meaning is the data set not prove not R, because our data set on this side, that is prove R. So not R is not truth for the data set. Okay, so that is a little like the inverse concept, inverse concept. And here, based on this, we look some general logical equation. If we use the not A, that means that is A. If we use the A and the A, that equivalent to the A, here that means equivalent. A or A equivalent A2, A and B that equivalent to B and A, so they can transfer the location, and or also can transfer location. And here is other rule, A and B and C. That means A can be and B and C combination first. So this is with the rule we said that the combination and combine rule that based on the order you can change. And this is the for all operation also can do this. But we need to careful is this A and B or C. That means that A can end with B and then or with A and C. That means the end application that can apply to B and C. And here A, or B, and C. That also the or operation can apply to the cause. And then here we can find that A and A or B that imply A and A or A and B that also imply A. So you can prove it. Prove it is not difficult. For example, you assume A is true. If A is true, and then A or B, that means this term will be true. True and true will be true. If A is first, and then we know that A is first. First and every other operation, the result is also first. Also, you can apply the same reasoning method that A is true, that output is true. A is first because A is first. He end any operation, the result is first. And first or first, output is first. Okay? And then we look this. This is a famous, we said that De Morgan law. De Morgan law that give us the equation 12 and 13. The equation 12, not A and B imply not A or not B, and not A or B, that equation not imply. Sorry, that's equation. Equation not A and not B. Be careful, the operation is after the inverse operation and change to all, and the minus apply to all the items. That is famous De Morgan law. De Morgan law. And equation 14 is also very popular. That A apply B, that equal not A or B. A equation B that equal A apply B and B apply A. That means you can from A reasoning to B is true. B reasoning to A also is true. And then equation 16, that A and T, because T is true, so the result is A. A and F, F is first, so the result is first. A and T, result is T. A or T, result is T. A or first, result is A. And A and not A is first. A or not A is usually true. And then we do this. Do this. That A apply B apply C, that equipment A and B apply C. So be careful. Here is A and B, then apply C. You can prove it. Prove it, you just assume because every variable that is true or first. And general logical equipment, that E23, that A apply B and A apply not B, the equipment to not A, not A. A applied to B is not B applied to not A. That is the same. So the 25 is the universal. Universal. That for any universal S A means A. And any exit S is A, that is A. So for the universal equation 27, for any universal S, AS, and BS equipment, universe of ASA and universe SB. So also be careful to the universal operation, exciting operation, and this is that the universe, that this equation is more special, 29 and 2013. 29, not universe S, A quarter S, equipment exit S, that A not AS. And the 13, not existing as A quarter S, equipment that universe S not AS. So this is the operation of transfer from the equipment of the universe to existence. Okay, the finally of the excited logic, that is this one. This one is the just different combination that existed S, that A quarter S and P, that equivalent to the equation of existed S, and that combination of the AS with and P. So from here you can find this just for the combination shift. Combination shift like this, we get a quote. And equipment certified that existed, that not exist, that for universe S and for all Y, that PSY equipment, that the order can be changed. Now, for all y, for all s, that just change the location because all of them are the universe cause. And existed sy and existed y, exist s and exist y also can be changed the location. It's no problem. So for any s, as implied to p, now we can change the for all universe to existed s, that as imply y at this condition. And here also the existed s as imply y also can change from exist for all s that as imply to y. And for this, universe can shift and at the out of quote, and this existed can move to out of the quarter 2. So this is the general logical equipment. So another, the general logic also have an implied logical operation. The implied logical operation that A can imply A or B, and A and B can imply A and B can imply to B also. Now based on this, now we can find that A imply B and A that can imply. Be careful that the difference between the implied logic with the general logic is this is a equation or equation equation. This is the imply. Imply means only one way. Now from here we can reasoning to here, but we cannot inverse. We cannot inverse A imply A and B. So that is be careful for this. And this is some table of the implied logic. For this, maybe you have some worry why they can imply. For example, here, if we say A is first, and then he can imply first or B. So A or B still the B. The A is not effect. And A is true, that imply to here A or B. Or you can find this cause became the true or became the true. And that not affect the right side. So this is sometimes we said that the imply. Imply this is more popular. This need to careful. That A imply to B, or A imply to B, and B imply to C. That we can direct that A imply to C. A imply to B, that we can say that also B imply to C, and A imply to C, or A imply to C. So that is the very interesting for the implied logic. So implied logic also for excited, that you can change the variable, change the variable from universal cos of the variable s to y and y to s. And this is also the implied logical operation. Okay. Finally, we give an example. That is a sentence that have a S sentence. Marcus was a man. Marcus was a Poimpena. All Poimpena were Romans. Caesar was a ruler. Caesar in Chinese we said that is Kaisar. All Romans were either loyal to Caesar or hate him. Everyone is loyal to someone. People only try to assassinate ruler they're not loyal to. Assassinate means want to kill. So Marcus tried to assassinate Caesar. So now they hope we to do the cost reasoning. Was Marcus loyal to Caesar? So from here, we need to transfer all the sentence to the property logic and the predicate logic. Then, based on this logic, we to do the reasoning. So from the action in the cost form. So, for example, for first sentence, we say Marcus was a man. So we can begin the sentence man Marcasi. And appointment, Marcasi was a appointment. So appointment Marcasi. And this all of this is transfer from the sentence that, for example, we look the sentence 6. Sentence 6 here. Everyone is loyal to someone. So loyal to the S3, the comma, the loyal to someone. Someone here, we use the loyal S3, loyal S3. So the S in the cost form, the sentence says loyal to. Here is S3, that is for loyal for someone. So means S3, the loyal for some people. So every sentence we can use the action that to reference the logic. So based on this logic in the data set, that we can do the reasoning. For example, in here the question is try to prove was Marcasi loyal to Caesar. So we can define a clause to describe the sentence that Marcasi loyal Caesar. So we want to prove we can inverse it. That loyal is not hate. So in the sentence, we want to prove that the head McCarthy had scissors or not. So if the data set have the head McCarthy scissors, that means that if you apply not head the cost into the data set, that will be after logical prediction, that will be become empty. So in the data set, we put the not head McCarthy scissors here. And here we find the sentence. We can find sentence 5 has the head, because head and not head can be merged. So we can find here with sentence 5, head and not head will be merged and delete. So the remainder is the course sentence 5. Roman, not Roman McCarthy, loyal to McCarthy Caesar. And then we apply this and search the dataset database. Now we find sentence 3. Sentence 3 had the Roman S1 and not Popena S1. So we can reverse the Roma. So after replace with this, that the remainder is these two courses. This part is from sentence 3. This part is from sentence 3. And this remainder part is from above sentence here. And then became this course. We also can apply the sentence 2. Sentence 2 is Popin Man McCarthy. So we can apply this to Pokemon McCarthy, so can delete it. And the sentence became this one. And this one also compare with sentence 7. On sentence 7, we can find that man S3 ruler and triassistant S4 Y1 or loyal to S4 and Y1. And S4 and Y1 is a variable that can be replaced with others. So we can find after operation, find the sentence, and then merge with sentence 1 again. Sentence 1 again, then we delete. We can delete the main McCarthy. So, and then remainder sentence is this. And then apply rule the cause 4. The cause 4 has the ruler scissors, ruler caser, or ruler caser. So the caser also can be deleted. And finally, the cause is the not triassistant McCarthy scissors. Then a sentence 8 is triassistant McCarthy scissors. So the reasoning can be become empty. That became empty here, meaning that there is a sentence. McCarthy had scissors, because we can use this proof not had to prove and became empty. That means in data set they can reasoning that had McCarthy scissors. So this is the cost reasoning that used on the language processing. So if we can convert a general sentence became a predict logic, and after predict logical reasoning, we can answer some questions. So this is the logic predict reasoning. Because now is near at the end of the semester, that we have some exercise for you if you have time and interested on the logic predict, that you can convert all above sentence to become a predict logic and answer the question. Our four sentence is: Stephen only like easy courses. Science courses are hard. All courses in the adult education department are easy, are hard, not hard. And BK 301 is a adult education course. So we can use resolution to answer the question, what course would Stephen like? This is from the reasoning, from the sentence we want to reasoning this result. So you can have an idea that Stephen like, you can transfer Stephen not like into the data set to do the reasoning. The second example is consider the following sentence: Mary likes all kinds of food. Apples are food. Chicken is food. Anything anyone eats and is not killed by is food. Bear eats rice and is still alive. So eat everything bear eats. So we can translate this sentence into the formulas in predicate logic, and we can help you to prove Mary like rice using the backward chaining. Now backward chaining, that means you can from the result to prove the data set, the code set support this sentence or not. And also try to answer the question. Give an example to explain what is first order logic, and also give an example to explain second order logic and high order logic. So it's better you give a real example that you can understand what the difference between the predict logic and the probability logic, first order logic, second order, and high order logic. Okay, thank you for you join the course. Okay, in this talk, we will summarize the logical operation for the AI. That the logic we have said that from the property logic, Boolean logic, first order logic, and predicate logic. Now we summarize the different kind of logic. The material maybe is in Chinese, but some term I will introduce, and I introduce this document will be in English. That I hope you can understand our summarize of the different definition of the logic. First, we said that the logic is proposition logic, means the logic is just the Boolean logic. Boolean logic is true and or false logic. And then we have introduced one kind of the logic. We said the predicate logic. Predicate logic also meant that the logic not just only true and false, that he can have a variable inside, and they use the term of the predicate. That predicate may be to describe the relationship of the variable with variable. For example, we see the proposition logic come from the Boolean operation. Here have a 3 term. This 3 term this 3 term is from P and P apply Q. That we say that is Q. And A and B and C imply D or. This is OR operation E. And then not A and B equivalent minus negative A or negative B. Negative A means inverse of A. Negative B means inverse of B. So this kind of logic that no variable inside, all is constant. That's just a simple proposition. So we call this form is proposition logic. But sometimes we have added some predicate term that can enhance the explanation of the logic. For example, here we have parents. Parents is a predicate term that connection the variable s and y. That he is applied from father s and y. So s and y can replace with the constant value. The constant value here, for example, is Johnson. That means John is the parents of Johnson. So also we can define this example that ancestor as y. And ancestor means that S and Y have a relationship based on the predicate term is parent. So ancestor as Y, that is ancestor as G and parent GY. That is from this extend the logic concept from the proposition logic to the predicate logic. So, like parent, ancestor, father, this is the term of the predicate logic term. After the predicate logic, we also can extend the logic to the first order logic. First order logic, different with predicate logic, is that can enhance the explanation ability. So for we have introduced about this symbol that for all, and this symbol existed. Usually, when you find these two types of the symbol, that maybe is usually is a first order logic. For example, here, for all people, as implied Montreal. That means all people will die, and people quote Socrates. That means Socrates is people, and mental Socrates. That means Socrates will die. And then this rule also a simple rule, but we may have a more complexity with the for all and exist combination. For example, here, that means existed available as, and as is person, and for any y that with time imply can fool as y. That means people can fool forever because time. Because time. So this term means can explain the meaning. Existed some people that will be foolish forever. Forever. This kind of representation we said the first order logic. Finally, we introduce is the second order logic. Second order logic means that predicate term include predicate term. So the include is two level. We said that is two second order logic. If include is three layer for predicate term to transform, that is the third level order logic. Now sometimes over two we say the high order logic. So if on the first order logic the predicate term can be variable, that also used forever and is existed symbol. Now we say that became the second order logic. For example, here is example P and PS and PY. P is predicate. PS and PY also predicate. PS PY is first order, and first order contained by the outer order. Now this P became the second order. Also, like here, for all P, for all S, that P became the variable. S belong to P, S not belong to P. And here also for all P, P0 for N, for all Y, PY implies the set Y, that implies for any Y, PY, that means the term of the mathematical induction is plain. So in the logic for predicate logic, that they need to be not conflict. That means that they have identical or identical. The identical means that in our logic course, we have A applied to P and A applied to not P. These two terms cannot be existed because this is conflict term. Have a people that in 1929 he had put a theory that called the Gödel complete theory. Gödel complete theory that give two major explanation. That he said that for the predicate logic, that every formula is valid, that in structure is providable. That means that cannot be conflict. And every formula phi is either refutable or satisfied in some structure. This is famous that the rule for support the predicate logic. But predicate logic is not new. That is very old. And if you are interested, that you can find more information about the predicate logic, proposition logic, first order logic, second order logic, that from the wiki. The wiki you can connection that to find more definition of the logic. And I share this information is from that this website that post on the internet. You can search but this is writing in Chinese. Also, you can find some writing in the English, but this for some Chinese student also can understand, and I try to explain it. Use English that for the original student also can understand the best idea of the different kind of the logic reasoning. And then we introduce this. This also answer the question of our homework, given an example of the first order logic and second order logic. Okay, we thank for your listening. Have any question, you can leave the message to us. In addition, I will let you know is the theory of the golden complete theory. Someone also proved this theory is not fully correct. Because that is only logical operation reasoning. If we apply this variable, can be calculated or by the divide operation or multiplication operation. That means s that divide y, or like this kind of logic that will make the theory, broader complete theory, not work, and will have a error. This is the interesting. So the predict logic cannot use on the add, decrease, multiplication, and divide operation for base mathematical operation incorporate to the reasoning. But human of us, we can combine the mathematics with the reasoning, but predicate logic cannot do it. Thank you. Thank you for your listening.